go ahead, Mark.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our June 4 CBLS meeting. Let's see. So do we start with confirming everybody's attendance at this point, Adrian, or?
Acosta,
Present.
thank you. Hammerschmidt,
Present.
Persson, Lester,
Present.
Levy,
Here.
Vance,
Present.
Yoon,
Aquí.
All right. So, and with that, we have from the State Bar. Why don't we have everybody who's from the State Bar introduce themselves? I know, is Amy here?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that. I was hitting the mute button. Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Nunez. I'm the Director of the Office of Admissions.
Audrey?
Hi, everyone. Audrey Cheng, the Assistant Director for the Office of Admissions.
Lisa Cummins?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Lisa Cummins, Program Manager for Examinations in the Office of Admissions.
Kenneth Holloway?
Hi, Ken Holloway, Assistant General Counsel in the Office of General Counsel at the State Bar.
Janelle Dela Cruz?
Hello, everyone. Janelle Dela Cruz, Program Analyst for the Department of Legal Specialization.
Janice Bowden? Is Janice there?
I'm sorry. Hi, Janice Bowden, Program Specialist for Office of Admissions Legal Specialization Unit.
Great, welcome. Latrell Cabrigas?
Good morning, everybody. I'm a program specialist in the Office of Admissions, Department of Legal Specialization.
Anna Moreno?
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Moreno, and I'm a program specialist for the Office of Admissions, the Legal Specialization Unit.
Jean Kraslinet. Oh, I'm going to botch it. Jean?
No problem. Jean Krasilnikoff, and I am with the Office of General Counsel, and I'm an Assistant General Counsel.
Great, welcome. And it was Donna Hershkovitz able to join us?
Does not look like she's on.
there's no other attendees.
Okay, great. Do we have any other guests today?
I do not see any other attendees or public.
Okay. Let's see. Some of the protocols for us, if we can make sure that we have our microphones off unless you're speaking. And so keep them on mute, but feel free to join in at any point along the way. Everybody should be able to have a copy of the agenda. It was paperless, available online. And with that, we've done the roll call. Is there any public comment to be offered?
I do not see any public attendees.
Okay. Well, that was a short part of the meeting then. Great. Then I guess we move forward to the consent calendar. Is that right? Adrian?
Sorry, if you don't see my video, I'm nodding. Yes.
Okay. Leave me hanging out there. So first up is the approval of the March 5, 2021 California Board of Legal Specialization public meeting minutes. If we can take a moment to review those. And any of you who were not present at that meeting are unfortunately not eligible to vote and should abstain. And for the rest of you, after you've had a chance to review, let me know and we can go through the formality. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the March 5, 2021 meeting?
It's Avi. I move to approve.
And second?
I second that.
All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mark, actually, can I call?
Aye.
Oh, wait a second. What's that?
Aye.
For the votes, can I roll?
Oh, you, that's right. Okay, go for it.
Thank you, Mark. Acosta,
Abstain?
Hammersmith,
Aye.
Lester,
Aye.
Levy,
Aye.
Vance,
Abstain?
Yoon.
Aye.
That's enough vote. The minutes are approved.
Excellent. All right. Next up is we move to staff reports and the update on the CBLS 2021 work plan initiatives. Anna, I think that's you.
Yes, it is. So the first thing on our work plan initiatives is that we will continue to apply guidelines when evaluating proposals for new specialty areas, which have recently been updated by the CBLS. We have recently received a proposal for a new state bar specialty area, which we will review and discuss in more depth at the next CBLS meeting. In the meantime, staff will begin research into the history and process of adding new specialty areas. As part of open session item 4F, staff recommends allocating funds for further research through a potential dedicated staff member for this area. Next, we hope to procure an exam item banking solution to increase exam security and efficiency. Staff has been working with our information technology unit to procure this new item exam banking system. We will provide further updates during the closed session. Staff has also been working on a procedure to enforce the removal of certified specialist designations. Since our last meeting, staff has received a rise in the number of requests to verify specialization certification legitimacy. We received some guidance from our Office of Chief Trial Counsel, and although they were unsure of clear penalties or discipline, an investigation on the attorney can be initiated to consider whether the attorney has engaged in misconduct that may warrant discipline. Pending further research, we have drafted possible enforcement policies. So for the first option, the attorney would be subject to a $75 fee and a written final notice of warning. They would be required to remove their specialist designation within 10 days of this first notice. If the attorney has failed to remove their specialist designation, they will be reported to OCTC for investigation. And then should OCTC issue a written discipline, the attorney would be subject to a $300 fee. And then should the attorney continue to fail to remove their designation, they would become disbarred. So in option 2, the attorney would not be subject to any fees. So the attorney would be subject to a first and final written warning and would be required to remove their specialist designation within the first 10 days of this notice. And then if they fail to do so, they will be reported to OCTC for investigation, and OCTC can write or issue a written discipline for them. No fee would be accompanied with this, and then if they continue to fail to remove their designation, they would just become disbarred. And then option 3 is kind of a hybrid of option 1 and 2. So when the attorney would get the first warning, they would not have a fee accompanied with that. If they continue to fail to remove their designation, they would be reported to OCTC. And then if OCTC does issue the written discipline, they would be subject to a $300 fee. And then if they continue to fail to remove their designation, they would become disbarred. Next on our working plan is to establish a contingency plan to administer the 2021 legal specialist exam remotely, similar to the recent bar exams and first year law student exams. Staff has been working with our current exam delivery provider to administer these exams remotely. We are still looking for outreach opportunities, but are planning to provide an advertisement or virtual booth at the upcoming Summer CAW Convention to raise awareness of the upcoming legal specialist exam. Depending on the reopening regulations of the state, we do expect to provide in-person outreach. Included in part of the open session item 4F, staff recommends allocating money for further research and potential dedicated staff. Lastly, we hope to continue to venture marketing opportunities to educate the public about the program and encourage program participation. Staff has been attending the ABA Specialization Roundtable discussions, where their most recent discussions related to outreach and communication. At the discussion, there was a presentation of the State Bar of California website and our capabilities for the public to find specialists. Other jurisdictions echoed the same sentiment of needing to promote the importance to the public and identify the issue of marketing versus sales. We plan to continue to attend these sessions to connect with specific contacts in other jurisdictions. Included in part of open session item 4F, staff recommends allocating money for further outreach and a potential dedicated staff in this area. And this concludes our work plan initiatives.
Did anyone have any questions on any of this? I'll go back to you, Mark.
Mark, you're muted.
I was being so good about, not having background noise coming in. So sorry about that. Any questions? I didn't see anybody raising their hands. Okay. Thank you, Anna. Adrian, I think next up is the update on the 2021-2022 CBLS appointments.
Of course, thanks. So for the upcoming 2021-2022 State Bar year, we will have up to 2 vacancies on the CBLS. We did receive 9 applications for appointment. Our officers, they're currently reviewing the applications and will work with the Board of Trustees appointment liaisons to select appointments. Mark, he has submitted his letter of interest for reappointment for another year as chair. Thank you, Mark. And our officers, they're also working together to create a recommendation for our vice chair. Any questions on CBLS appointments?
Okay. Everybody's chiming in. Next up, we have recent developments, and Audrey, look to you.
Yes, exciting news. We have the June first year law students exam coming up on Tuesday, June 22nd. It is going to be another remote administered exam. Applicants are currently practicing with their 2 mandatory mock exams. About 20 between the LA and San Francisco office will actually take the exam in person because of their accommodations, or they requested a handwrite, or they have extenuating circumstances like they don't have a quiet place to test at home. Right now, we have 286 approved test takers for that exam. In case you didn't see the press release on the February bar exam, I'll give you some highlights. So February 2021 California bar exam, 1,151 out of 3,098, or 37.2% of applicants passed the general bar exam, and 247 out of 432 passed the attorney's exam, or 57.2%. So those were the highlights from February. It is a higher pass rate than the prior February. For July, we have 8,883 applicants right now for the July bar exam. That is also going to be a remotely administered exam. Of those, 4,057 have been officially approved to sit the exam. The majority of the rest of the applicants are in some sort of pending status, so we'll be working through more than 4,000 of those applications to see if they'll be approved and eligible to sit the exam. So it looks to be a large administration in July. Those are my updates about exams. Any questions?
Okay.
If not, I think it's back to myself, right?
Yes, next up would be in section 4, business review of the report on financial and operational key indicators. Audrey, you're up.
Okay. All right. So the first attachment, attachment A, is the fourth quarter financial report as reviewed and approved by the Board of Trustees. And it's kind of paginated differently. So if you go up to the top and you search for page 11, that will bring up the line where you can look at how we ended the fourth quarter. So it's not page 11 on the bottom right pagination. You have to kind of search for 11 at the top. So if you see that, you can tell in that one line about legal specialization that we ended the fourth quarter up by a small percent compared to our actual was up over our budgeted revenue. We are budgeting overall for the coming fiscal year a decrease, a net decrease. We want to spend about $1.1 million on exam development, our consultants, developers, pretesters, graders. Obviously, that's all new with this upcoming exam administration. Also, of course, we have today the entire spend down plan to discuss our net balance of over $5.5 million as of the end of 2020. We need to talk about the proposed spend down options in this meeting. So if you move to attachment B, which is discussing the total number of specialists, you can see that our aggregate number of specialists is down from this time a year ago. It's down by 49. Only 3 of our areas, appellate, estate, and family, saw increases, a total across those 3 areas of 12. Workers' compensation saw our largest decrease, a double-digit decrease of 27. So that's the numbers from attachment B. Moving to attachment C on resignations. So just as of a couple days ago on June 1st, we have 99 resignations. Nearly half of those, 46, are due to retirement, 13 saying they can't now meet the tasks and experience, 12 saying they had a practice change, 3 for fee complaints, and then the rest are other or different reasons. We expect more resignations online with prior years. So 2021 should be comparable to 2020 and 2019, which had 136 and 160 resignations respectively. The last attachment for me is attachment D on legal specialization education compliance, Group C. So as you'll remember, Group C had an initial reporting deadline on February 1st, but we've extended that to the end of this month, June 30th. There are 1,397 specialists in Group 2. And out of that, between now and the end of the month, 539 of those are still pending. So we will be sending out email notices to everyone who is pending next week, and hopefully to get that number from pending to compliant by the end of June. Any questions on those indicators?
No questions, but I'm compliant.
Oh, well, you're in the Gold Star group.
There you go. Any other questions among the crew? All right. Thank you, Audrey. Next up, item B, review of the report on initial certification application statuses. And Luttrell, that's you.
So in order to receive certification, applicants must first take and pass the legal specialist exam. And after that, they are then eligible to submit their post-examination application for initial certification. So those who passed the 2017 examination had up to April 30th of this year to file an application. We had 704 passers, and of those 704, 593 submitted an application, which is 84.2%. Estate and family both received the most applications, accounting for more than half of the received applications. Combined, they both had 304 applications. So applicants originally had until January 31st of this year to apply, but CBLS approved a three-month extension due to COVID, and that new deadline was April 30th of this year. Staff will reach out to those pending applicants one last time before closing out their records. So those who passed the 2019 examination have also had up to April 2021 this year to file an application or request an extension. We had 382 passers, which is 70%, and 70% of those filed an application, which is 233. Similar to the 2017 passers, Estate and Family received the most applications for 2019 passers. Of the remaining candidates, 149, 51 have requested an extension. Applicants may request an extension of time through January 2023. And the most common reason for extension is to reach the 5-year practice requirement. And this concludes the review of report on initial certification application statuses.
All right. Any questions? Keeping on track with no questions, let's move to item C. Review of report on 2021 legal specialist examination registrations. And I think Janice, that's you.
Yes. So for our review of the report of the 2021 legal specialist examination registrations, the exam is now planned to be administered remotely. Our registration opened on April 1st, and the fees for the timely registration between April 1st and August 15th is $100. Late registration from August 15th through September 15th is $250. There won't be any laptop fees for this exam. As of June 1st, we have a total of 160 registered applicants, and they are as followed. Admiralty, we have 1, appellate civil 9, appellate criminal 4, bankruptcy is 5, none yet for criminal federal, 8 for criminal state, 39 for estate planning, 57 for family, 1 for franchise and distribution, 9 for immigration, none yet for legal malpractice, 5 for taxation, and 22 for workers' compensation. We have seen a steady increase of about 10 to 20 new registrants each week, and we do expect a surge to occur right around August 15th when the price goes up from the timely registration. We will be discussing in a later item a new budget for outreach. We're planning to seek out additional applicants that way. We're planning for staff to draft an outreach email template for members to send to prospective applicants to register. Namely, we would like to ask Jeff if he knows of any criminal federal applicants, or Natalie if she knows of any legal malpractice applicants. Thank you.
And for the record, what outreach are we currently using for advertising the exam?
Our communications team has been using social media, putting out an announcement every other week. And then I think, as Anna had mentioned, we will be getting a virtual booth at the upcoming Summer CAW convention. And then we're hoping that more conventions return so that we'll be able to provide further outreach that way.
Any other questions among the crew?
I don't know of any applicants for the federal portion of the criminal, but I'll talk to my partner who's a former federal prosecutor, and he could reach out to his old office to see. The other thing I was thinking is I can do a quick article for the local bar bulletin that will come out, I think in July, just letting people know that it's $100 and waived laptop fee.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll compile all the information and maybe draft something up quick too for you to see how for reference.
You know, we've got a local bar citations that goes out monthly, and they're always looking for inserts. So, you know, if we can have kind of a generic one, then we can circulate it among the crew as for such local magazines.
Of course. Thank you, Mark.
Natalie, any notes?
I can reach out to some of the others, firms that have a lot of legal malpractice lawyers, and just encourage them to encourage their senior associates and people who are coming up to apply.
Cool. Anybody else? All right, hearing no outcry, let's keep moving on. Item D is the approval of certification revocations for failure to recertify. And we're back to you, Adrian.
Of course. So for this item, specialists are required to report compliance of the task and experience and reference requirements by recertifying every 5 years. Reminders, they are sent electronically through the admissions applicant portal email system. We do send that 6 months prior, 60 days prior, 30 days prior, and then 7 days after the term ends. And then we also send through the state bar's email service a 30-day late reminder, and then a 60-day final late notice through the, which is, we also add a physical mailing along with that electronic letter. As of through March 1st, we have 33 specialists pending recertifications. The table in the agenda item provides a breakdown of those specialists by specialty area. All of those specialists, they have received the final email and physical notice, the 60 days late notice, and they've been given at least 30 days to respond. Consistent with past action to send notice of revocation, we can send a paper and electronic notice, once again through the state bar's email service.
So Adrian, this is Natalie. Have each of these individuals been sent the mail notification at this point?
They would have, yes.
Looking through the list, I only see one name that I know in person, and I know he's still active. I'm not sure what's up with Terrence Noonan. He's pretty active down here in LA.
And I know the individuals on the legal malpractice list. One of them I know has retired, Betsy Kimball, so she's unlikely to recertify, but I believe the others are also active, and we might want to try some further outreach.
Frank Nemesek, I talk to all the time. We're on a case together that's up before the Court of Appeal. He has absolutely no intent of retiring. He's still trying cases regularly. I am kind of shocked to see his name on here.
If the CBLS thinks this is okay, we can provide a quick email for members to reach out to any of the pending specialists on the list, should you see fit. However, to stay consistent with process, we can and still could send out this final notice through the email service and a physical letter again as well.
Okay. Well, there's a, this is where we've got a motion that we need to call for a pull up on the agenda, the formal motion. Which is to move that those certified specialists listed on attachment A are revoked and notified for failure to recertify.
So
Moved by Avi.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second. Hammerschmidt.
Second by Hammerschmidt. Adrian, if you'd like to call roll, please.
Costa?
Yes.
Hammerschmidt?
Aye.
Lester?
Aye.
Levy?
Aye.
Vance?
Yes.
Yoon? One more for Yoon.
Jake?
I still see him on the.
All right. He's got himself on mute and no audio. There he is.
One more call for Yoon.
You're still on
Do you
mute.
need my vote?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
aye.
Thank you, Jake. That's enough votes.
Okay.
The motion passes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to print this list so I can remember to call. All right, moving on. Next item is E, approval of the 2020 annual report of the Board of Legal Specialization. Adrian, this is back in your bailiwick.
So for this item, in the past, an annual report of the California Board of Legal Specialization was shared with the State Bar Board of Trustees and the Supreme Court. We now continue to create this annual report to preserve historical data. Notables for 2020, the program finished the 100% release of electronic results for the 2019 Legal Specialist Examination. We also completed the Legal Specialist Examination Grader and Grading Study Report with our psychometrician. And then we evaluated all of the legal specialization processes and transitioned to remote work due to the results of COVID. And then I leave it open for any questions or discussion.
Any questions from the floor with respect to our annual report? Okay. No further discussion. The motion would be then to move that the 2020 annual report of the California Board of Legal Specialization is received and filed. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second
And
that.
Second by Jake.
Yes.
Adrian, if you call the vote.
Costa,
Yes.
Hammersmith,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Levy,
Yes.
Can't hear you, Adrian, if you're talking.
no one can hear me?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We could see your lips moving, but nothing was coming out.
Sorry, that I didn't press it. Natalie,
Yes.
thank you. And you.
Yes.
That's enough votes. The motion passes.
Okay, we are going way too fast because I'm looking for Rob to join us here before we get to item F. Do we need to wait, or? I thought he said it was between 10:30 and 10:45 that he was going to be able to join us from his honeymoon location.
Whoa.
I see a public attendee, but I don't know if that's a different Rob. Is it okay if I allow them to talk so we ask?
Sure.
Got it. Hi there, is this Rob attending the California Board of Legal Specialization meeting?
Hi, yeah, no, I'm just an observer.
Oh, you got it, Rob. Thank you so much.
Okay.
All right. What,
Mark, I leave it to you, or maybe we can ask Ken. I don't know how the process would be if we only have one eligible voter.
right.
Well, it certainly could proceed with one, but I think that's probably not ideal for anyone. So I don't know if it's appropriate to take a short break, even though this is only half hour into the meeting for Rob's sake, because this is the only item left on open.
Yeah, we can go.
Going out of order probably wouldn't be very efficient use of time either.
Okay.
So, yeah, okay, so what's the suggestion here? I would like to
could
give,
do a break, or we could go to closed and then come back to open. I think those are the two options.
right. My preference would be to go to closed so that we can continue moving forward with that part and come back. Is that okay? Anybody else?
That's absolutely fine procedurally.
Anybody else on the board have a feeling one way or the other?
I prefer to go to closed.
Okay.
Adrian, on the, sorry, on the attendees portion, I see that Rob has.
Oh, there is Rob. Let me move him in.
There we go. We just had to talk about it enough.
There you go. Talk about a dramatic entrance, Rob.
Why, what'd I do?
Jeez. Well, because we're on the last item, which is the one we've been waiting for you on. And we were
I
almost going to go to,
apologize.
no, that's okay. You've got a great excuse. Or reason, not an excuse, it's a reason. So
It was the one time, unfortunately, our timing on something got moved, so I apologize to the board.
So.
No problem at all. Thank you.
So with Rob now present, why don't we move to item F on the open agenda, and that's the approval of the 2022 legal specialization budget reserve spend down initiatives for the recommendation to the Board of Trustees for final approval. Adrian, if you'd start with your report.
Of course. So for this item, we will be starting with just a general discussion of the importance of a spend down and the spend down options. For some background, the State Bar's reserve policy requires a minimum target reserve of 2 months of operating expenses, which equals 17% for each fund, and requires a spend down plan when the reserves remain greater than 30% for longer than 6 consecutive months. In 2016, the CBLS and the Board of Trustees approved a similar spend down of reserves to bring the balance down to 464,000 from approximately 6 million. Options at that time were an annual fee holiday, which is 1.6 million, case management system, which is our admissions applicant portal that we are now using, that was 1.5 million, outreach 100,000, exam bank prep system, we dedicated 2.2 million, research for new specialties 200,000, and then an exam fee holiday and reduction, which is 318,000. Currently, the legal specialization budget, we're budgeted to be at 134% of the allowable reserve balance. The legal specialization fund net balance as of December 31st, 2020 was 5.6 million. Our 2021 projected net balance, so as of the projection for December 31st of this year, is 4.6 million. Our 2021 budgeted expenses are 3.4 million. So the minimum target reserve balance, or 17%, would be 580,000. And then the maximum reserve balance, which is 30%, would be 1 million, just over 1 million. We will have to spend out approximately 4 million to reach that minimum reserve target. At the last meeting, the CBLS recommended researching the following options: an annual fee holiday, marketing expenses, a refund for passing the exam, a reduction of fees for specialists of a certain age, and then a continued exam fee reduction. Is there any other general discussion or options? Everyone heard me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Heard you. So is this the portion where discussions of specifics are engaged in?
If there's no other discussion regarding the options that we've already looked at, or any other potential options, or something that we've done in the past, we can move into the specific discussion.
And again, Mark, I think it's appropriate for all members to discuss at the very high level of, as Adrian said, potentially other options, or any items that within the list that no one needs to recuse themselves on, and their kind of value and comparative value perhaps, but without getting into items that anyone would need to recuse on, or kind of a comparative dollar value level specifics that could implicate that. And I think that's sort of the level of discussion that Adrian's opening up at this point.
Okay. So where are we supposed to go here next, Adrian?
If there's no further general discussion, we would ask the specialists on the California Board of Legal Specialization to recuse yourselves. And we would move forward with this item with our 2 public members to discuss the specific amounts and the recommendation and potential action.
Well, and again, I apologize everybody for being late to the meeting today. And in anticipation of this, I know I've kind of reviewed and gone over a few things. And honestly, personally, as one of the 2 public members, it makes me a little uncomfortable being only 2 people making decisions on behalf of an entire board without the input and the opportunity for those board members to participate in the actual vote. I do understand the potential appearance of conflict of interest with the spend down on the money, but I am personally uncomfortable making a singular basic decision. In this case, we have 2 public members. We need a motion, we need a second, then we need a vote. And it makes me uncomfortable to move forward on this. I know that this was the advice of council, but I'm not exactly sure how to move forward when the only 2 people who can participate have to be the ones that make the motion in a second.
Can I say something?
Yes, please, Avi.
So unfortunately, you're in this position as, they decided that public members need to be on this board at some point, and that if we're certified specialists, we can't participate in this. So I think that in a way, although it might be uncomfortable for you, I think you're the only one you and the other public member are the only ones who can do this. So, and I think that within your kind of like responsibilities or duties as a public member, I don't think, this is not against you, this is more of just like, I'm thinking about like United States senators or something. They can't just say like, well, I don't feel comfortable. No, you're elected or you're appointed to make a decision, So sure. I think that's your job. You gotta do the job, So I know it's uncomfortable. I get it, but it's, wait, I'm making a decision for everybody. That's weird. But like, you're on this board because you're the only one who can make that decision along with somebody.
Sure,
else. So.
Sure, and I have no problem actually making the decision. My comment is more out of respect for the rest of the board and your inability to participate than mine. I have no problem personally making the decision, because obviously we have to, and we have to move forward. So it was more just wanting to point out that I think that on a go forward basis, we need to maybe revisit rules and figure out how in the future, if we're going to have a board where you're required to recuse yourself from voting on actionable items that affect the board, that we develop some sort of procedures that handle that in the future. So
I very much understand the concern, Robin. We can definitely continue to look into that. And at this point, to the extent that it would increase your comfort to solicit discussion or opinion on a higher level, general level, about the items in the agenda item that are not subject to refusal, Yeah, that, I'm not sure that addresses your whole concern, but to the extent it
No.
might, you're welcome to solicit discussion about that.
Well, listen, obviously, we as a board made the recommendations in our last meeting for it. So I kind of have a pretty good idea of where the
Yeah.
board stands on it. So, you know, in that, like I was saying, in that case, I really don't have a problem in terms of representing the board and voting it. It was more just making a statement more about how we go forward. And so I appreciate the acknowledgement there. So, okay, so that being said, you know, Adrian is the right then procedurally now to say, you know, do we have a motion on the table to vote on?
And I suppose, is it appropriate to ask a question? What happens if the spend down is not accomplished? Are we out of compliance to what's the penalty?
Procedurally, I do not know. I'd have to research that. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully after we present the items and the options, it seems like an appropriate spend on of the fund, that it would be able to move forward. I think though, Ken, I don't know if you can answer this question. Does that mean the CBLS members, do they just mute themselves or do they have to actually drop off?
No, they could just abstain during the vote. You know, to the extent there's any discussion, then not that touches on the recusal areas, not participate in that.
Perfect.
Okay, am I still in charge or does Rob get to do this?
I can, well, I'm happy to take over, Mark. So is there an actual proposal that can be made as a motion, or is it up to one of us to make the actual motion here?
There is. I think, is there any other general discussion? If there's not any other general discussion, I'll ask all the specialists on the CBLS to recuse yourselves, and then I'll continue with the PowerPoint and the specific amounts for each of these options.
Okay.
No other questions? I will go ahead. So the staff, we researched potential spend down options. We looked at a 2022 legal specialization program annual fee holiday. The way that we calculated this is the program currently lists 4,000, just under 5,000 active specialists. Times that by the $360 annual fee, we're at just under 1.8 million. Another option was a 5-year annual fee reduction for specialists age 70 years or older. The recommended amount was $866,000. The way that we calculated this, there are currently 833 specialists at age 70 years or older. Times that by the 360 annual fee, that is $299,000. And then if we reduce that to $100 annual fee, it'll be $83,000. And then that's a $216,000 difference. We are recommending this for a 5-year term. So year 1 would be the no fee 2022 annual fee holiday. And then for years 2 to 5, it'll be $216,000 for 4 years, which is the $866,000. Third option was dedicating amount to advertising and publications. We researched Twitter. They have a cost per promotion, which ranges from 50 cents to $2. Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, they were a cost per click, which ranged from 10 cents to $2. For publications, staff guessed it would be around $500 to $1,500 per an ad. And then there's other outreach expenses, travel, booths. Unfortunately, we do not know a specific amount for that. And this is also pending the return of travel and other conventions. But our recommendation was $100,000 for this. The next option, there was a 5-year application, an application for initial certification fee holiday, and we once again wanted to recommend this for 5 years. So the way that we calculated this is we looked at the 2021 budgeted certification application revenue, which was just under 77,000 times 5 years. That would be 384,000. Next option, another 5-year temporary application for recertification fee reduction. Our calculations for this, we looked at the 2021 budgeted recertification application revenue, which was 178,000. Staff proposed a temporary reduction to 100 from $350. That's a 71.4% reduction, which equaled 127,000 per year. So then we times that by 5 years. Oh, you know what? I think my calculations are wrong. I'll have to relook at this one. I apologize. Janelle, can you recalculate that while I go to the next one? Our next option, an admissions applicant portal. That's our new computer system for storage. So the applicant portal, it moved the majority of legal specializations paper processes onto an electronic platform. Unfortunately, the legal specialization participants, they're generally paper users. So staff, we have to scan and upload all those documents to the applicant portal. With retention policies, it is critical that we maintain this electronic database. For the applicant portal, storage is split into 2 categories. There's files and data. File and data growth is projected growth at 40% and 5% respectively each year. The cost of file storage is $438 per gigabyte per year, and the cost of the data storage is $9,000 per gigabyte per year. Taking our current file and data storage into consideration and the projected increases, the cost of storage for year 1 would be $21,000, year 2 would be $24,000, and then year 3 would be $28,000. So that'll be a total of $74,000, and that'll cover us for 3 years. Another option was the creation of new additional legal specialization staff. We hope that this new staff, they could potentially create an additional permanent or a temporary position. Right now, the state bar salary range for program specialists is $66,000 to $88,000. With this new staff person, they could proactively assist in continued monitoring and tracking the designations, specifically as it relates to the work plan initiative to enforce designation removals. They can monitor and manage program outreach as this relates to the work plan initiative to provide outreach to the public. And they could also assist in researching new specialty areas, the public need, and the internal process to add areas. And then the last option that we researched, legal specialist examination refund for passers. The way that we calculated this, we had the 2021 budgeted exam registration revenue, which was $317,000. And then we looked at the average pass rate through our last 4 exams, which is 73.8. So we calculated it would be 234% could potentially be refunded out to those passers. So right now, staff is recommending options A through G. Just to note, option H is not being considered at this time, as it would have a similar effect as option D. Instead of offering a refund, we will just waive the additional fee of applying for initial certification. And then as for the terms, the 5-year terms, we would like to test pilot the reduced fees for 5 years. Especially for the recertification fee, so that all specialists can take advantage of the reduced fee since specialists recertify on a 5-year schedule. This would allow CBLS to review fees again and return to our current normal fees, or we could permanently reduce them. Janelle, I don't suppose we're able to calculate that.
Yes, so for for E, it's 637,775.
Okay, I had it wrong at the bottom. I apologize. So it's right on the item. So with the recommendation of options A through G, this will bring the reserve down to 678,000. That'll put us at 19.9% of the reserve. And I leave it to Rob or Jake. Any questions?
Yeah, so if you can give me the high level again, and I apologize, where we stand, where we need to be, and where this will take us.
Yeah, let me. I think it's on the item. Let me pull it up.
And while Adrian is pulling that up, Jake, is there any discussion you want to have? Any questions?
My question is how this discount will affect the revenue. So I would like to see the projected revenue according, with the discounts. Item A to G. If we implement all of the items selected, and are we still gonna make a profit, or are we gonna be under? That is my ultimate question.
We would still have the revenue. I'm not unmuted, am I?
No, we can hear you.
Okay. So we would still have the revenue. So for the annual fee holiday, which is the majority of the legal specialization program's revenue, we would just be doing a holiday for a single year, so that for the years 4 to 5, if we continue with the 5-year term, we would get back 100% of that revenue, minus the difference for the reduced fee for the specialist 70 years age or older. And we actually went with the years, the age 70, because there is a reduced inactive fee for attorneys, and that they're eligible when they are age 70 for that.
So actually, Jake's question makes me think of something. So if we implement A through G, that's going to take us down to whatever that is, a 17% reserve that you mentioned. Next year, we're going to have no fees coming in. So, and does this mean that year 1 we're at 17% of the reserve, year 2 we're at 15%, and ultimately at the end of 5 years we're down to where the mandate is, and then we start kind of again in terms of having revenue coming in?
Unfortunately, I did not calculate what the revenue difference would be. Once again, this would just help us bring us down initially for the first year, but in the second and third and through the 5th year, we would gain back our revenue streams.
So this is a band-aid for year 1 to bring us kind of closer to compliance.
Correct.
But ultimately, we're going to have to revisit this next year or towards the end of this year in terms of for a long-term effects and how we're going to control the budget.
We can continue to provide this or monitor this at each of the CBLS meetings as well.
I have a question.
Ken, I don't know if he's allowed to ask a question.
Yeah, I don't know if you're allowed to, Avi.
Oh, no, we're not even allowed to ask questions. Okay, got it.
I don't know. So.
Right, so that, Avi, that's
yeah.
exactly what my point is in terms of when I say I'm uncomfortable, it's not that I'm uncomfortable making the decision, it's that, the discussion is limited to 2 people.
Yeah, like I said, Adrian, I want to see the numbers of the forecasted, the revenue, right? I think without that, I'm very uncomfortable approving this. Right?
Yeah,
I'd like to see some numbers of the graph, like how this, the surplus gets reduced to the year 5, and it will be a simple graph that provides how this proposal is going to work. Then I'm comfortable approving it. But without that, the visualization, I'm going to have to get this number and the plug into my number into my Excel, and going through that, that's going to take a while. And without that, I don't know if I can approve it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I would like to, Jake, and I guess the discussion is between you and I guess I'm in the same thing as you, as I would love to see how the recommendation, if approved, is going to make an effect on the overall, revenue versus our surplus over the next 5 years. And so I'm kind of inclined to say I'd like to table this pending staff come back to us with how the 5-year plan rolls out with revenue versus expense versus reserve.
Correct. I totally, that's what I'm talking about, Rob. Thank you so much.
So, Rob, are you proposing this as a motion?
Well, it was more of discussion at this point between Jake and I, but it sounds like we're both in consensus with that. So again, I'm not exactly sure the rules of order when it comes to two people in terms of a motion, a second, and vote. So if you can kind of advise me on that, I've not been in that situation before.
It does sound, to the extent that you're on the same page, it does sound like it might be able to proceed just normally with motion, a second, and then both of you vote on the
On this,
item.
okay. So Jake, do you want to go ahead and make the motion, or do you want to? I'm happy with saying I would like to provide. I can make the motion. So I would move that we table this discussion to the next meeting, pending staff return with an evaluation of the 5-year plan with the spend down versus revenue, expenses, and how it's going to affect the surplus.
I concur with you, Rob.
So does that constitute a second?
Yes, second.
Then Adrian, I suppose you'll take the roll call of the available voters for a vote. Or I suppose we can just say Jake.
And maybe we should put the date of the next meeting.
When is our next meeting?
It is September 10th. However, I'm thinking in terms of if we wanted to implement this for the 2022 calendar year, it would have to go to the Board of Trustees before November, because that's when annual fee billing occurs. We can call for a special meeting. I guess to be determined. We'd have to figure out a date.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking the same.
We would have to call for a special meeting, and I think I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but maybe we would just call that for Jake and Rob, since you're the two.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
we can do that.
Yeah,
and I promise you, I will not get married and go on a honeymoon that weekend.
Wow, then you would have quite a talent, Rob.
Yes, it would be. Let's hope I'm not ever doing another wedding and honeymoon. This should be the last one.
Does that look okay?
Yes, but Adrian, one question, one request I have is that the item A to G, can you email me and Rob? So maybe perhaps I'll do some, run some numbers as well on my own.
Yeah, of course. I will email you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. And I apologize. Remind me who motioned and who seconded.
I made the motion, Rob, and Jake made second.
Yes.
I will go ahead and call roll for this vote. Hershenson.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
That's enough votes. The motion as written is approved.
You don't even get to abstain?
Actually, yeah, I actually think technically Adrian should call the full roll.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
They're obliged to abstain.
You got it. I apologize.
Thank you, Mark.
Acosta.
Abstain.
Hammersmith.
Abstain.
And I'm going to call again. Hershenson.
Aye.
Lester.
Abstain.
Levy.
Abstain.
Vance.
Abstain.
And you.
Abstain.
Abstain? Oh.
Is that?
Are you changing your vote?
Jake, are you abstaining from the vote, or are you voting aye on the motion?
Oh, I in the motion. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Jake. That's enough votes from the eligible voters. The new motion as written passes.
Thank you, Adrian.
Okay. So then does that bring us to the end of the open session, Adrian?
It does, yes.
Okay, so the open session is going to come to an end for now, and we are going to be moving to the closed session. So we're supposed to log out of this one and log into your new link for the closed session, right?
And we'll return to open session to formally close the meeting when we're done with closed.
Correct.
Does anyone want to, are we jumping immediately into close? Does anyone need a 5 or 10-minute break?
5-minute break would be excellent in my mind.
So that'll
Okay.
Let's log back in at 11:12.
11:12 it is. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Do we?
Oh, it's back. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we've closed out of the closed session. We have back into open session, have restarted the recording. Thank you, everybody, for making time out of your day to be present. We appreciate your commitment to California Board of Legal Specialization. And with that, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks all.
You.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.